Top of the morning to you, Ina. How are you doing, matey?
I'm doing great, Alabar. How are you?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think I might do an introduction for Ina because I'm not sure YouTube world knows him very well. But Ina, of all the people I've talked to, he's probably one of the best researched, one of the ones who's delved deepest into uh, all of the mystic questions around healing, aliens, demons, the state of politics on Earth. I know he's got at least 20 years of meditation under his belt. Um, he is probably the best educated and the most up-to-date researcher I've met so far. Yeah, this is Einar Olsen.
Hi.
And why, of all the people out there, did you pick me to ask these questions to?
Well, I spent a lot of time on uh, YouTube looking at these kind of things. I've been on a general journey from earthly politics. It's actually been back and forth. But first, I'll answer your question. You're the only astral warrior I know. I know of. You know, there's a lot of near-death experience people. There's a lot of out-of-body experience people. There's a lot of spiritual people. There's a lot of New Age people. There's a lot of ET people. I don't know any other astral warriors. I know one other person who's an astral out-of-body specialist, but he doesn't roll up his sleeves at all. And so you're a unique as far as I've been able to find. Now, I haven't done, huge research on this, but as of now, you're the only one. That's one thing. Now, the other thing is that the level of your projects are unprecedented. First video I saw of yours, I thought, well, this is either the greatest story ever told, or this guy is very important.
Thanks, bro.
On Earth. I mean, and I saw the interview you did with David Lynn, and he was a credible individual, I felt. I mean, I thought he was telling the truth. And you asked him, well, why are you talking to me? And he says something like, well, Alabar, you're very well known around this solar system and respected by your friends and foes. We take you very seriously. And he's a secret space program executive. So that made an impression on me also. I don't think I know anyone else who reports directly to Gaia. Now, I know of a lot of saints and so on who are united, or of them who are united with God and so on, but they don't do astral warfare. So you have this niche.
It's such a small niche. I'm the only one in it.
Which is a very wide niche in between snowballs and Godhead.
Snowflakes and Godhead. Yeah.
Oak trees and the divine, is a pretty wide range. And you're like king of the astral, sort of, or prince or something like that. And I enjoyed a couple of your videos when you had people on your team that were with you, because I got to see them.
Yeah.
And
People have been wondering if they're real. Yes, they are. They're just a bit shy.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. And you have a team, and of course, you're saying all kinds of things that are, just exciting and mind-boggling and mind-blowing. Many of your videos, I just never knew what to expect. I mean, the truth is stranger than fiction, than friction. Truth is stranger than fiction, and they're quite entertaining and exciting. I mean, people, one channel that I watched, they say they're required by YouTube to say, this can be taken as science fiction. So they say that.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, this is, Alabar's videos are, even on the level of science fiction, they're better than what most science fiction people can come up with, and or at least as good. And the other thing is that I really liked you
Thanks,
as a
Brent.
person. I felt you're very friendly, and other people I know, I've gotten a few people to watch your videos. Everybody likes you. Who doesn't like you? Well, there might be a few people, but so those are all the things that I just found you through just looking at the sidebar on the right-hand side of some video I was watching, and it said, we just took out some giant demon, or we killed Lucifer or something. I thought, what? Like we killed the god of alcohol or something. I thought, what is this about? So it got my
Yeah.
curiosity, and so I watched that video, and then what I do when I watch a video, I click that little video channel circle
Mhm.
in the lower left, and I say, hey, what's going on? I've been doing that for years to check out the people. And
Mhm.
then I go online and I find their site or their sites in YouTube in the channel. They'll have
Mhm.
their site link. And then I bookmark everything. I have a book, my bookmarks, I have thousands and thousands of bookmarks. And they're all categorized in folders and everything. It's very complex, that you can do.
Wow. That's a
You can
list
do,
of who's who.
yeah. And in Gmail, you can make massive bookmarks. And I have about, I don't know, 30 different categories, folders, and then subfolders, sub. You can go pretty subby, with Gmail folders. And so that's what I do, and I do in a lot of different areas, not just this area.
So it sounds like you've researched really hard as to what people are sharing on the internet about, on these topics.
Listen, I know that there's people that know more than I do.
Hmm.
I think this is fundamental thing for everyone nowadays is to realize that there's always more to learn, and I might always be wrong about anything.
Oh, look, it's okay. Look, once you, yeah, that's what keeps life interesting, to just go out and discover more.
Yeah. And by the way, just as far as my own biography, my wife and I both been practicing transcendental meditation for over 50 years.
Oh, 50 years,
Uh,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
we started in our early 20s, and we practiced the
Wow.
TM City program since the mid 70s, which is an advanced program. And we
So you've been
practice yoga.
meditating longer than I've been alive, right? Good.
We practice yoga postures. You were a yoga teacher, and we have taught that also. And we're into Ayurveda. We're into the Indian thing, basically.
Mhm.
My wife and
I
I
hear it.
have been. So I have that orientation.
Yeah, look, and I think in the 70s, I think that was the only choice. Like, yeah, like that was the thing to do. But nowadays, thanks to the internet, we can borrow from all religions. We can delve into everything by the internet. And,
Every
and, and it's also funny because I think at about 1970, all of the religions got the directive to open up their books to everybody. It was a weird moment.
everything is being combined with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you go into a kitchen and there's every ingredient of every kitchen in the world, and you can do anything you want, and you get A to
Yeah.
Z.
Yeah.
I
Look,
mean,
you can create your new fusion food, your new fusion meditation between Taoism and Zoroastrianism, as you
you
so
could,
choose.
yeah.
Like whatever it is you like. If you want to make rune soup, go for it.
I just found out, a couple days ago about replicated food that you can make with a 3D. You can print your food out, actual food. Okay,
I don't
actual
know
food.
if that's a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
I
It's not a
don't know.
good but there's a whole page on it in Wikipedia, replicated food. This is a 3D banana you can eat that's made by a machine, like the print it, print the 3D printers.
Wow.
And they
Yeah,
can,
look, it doesn't is yeah, yeah. Like I get that they print it. It looks like a banana, it tastes like a banana, but it's never met a banana. It has nothing to do with the banana, right?
yeah,
It's made out of random biomass, so you may well be eating the same stuff as a cow eats. Like I don't know. Like,
not only that, I didn't know this either. There's synthetic food that's entirely synthetic, that doesn't include any food, that's just plastic. And it's sold as food legally, especially in China.
that's
Like
what
you
they
can get
like. That's where they want to go with everything, you know. Right? That like and really, if I only make one statement, is that the world is being herded into an AI dominated synthetic world, which is fundamentally inferior to the natural world, to the biological world. Right? And that's the big problem that, yeah. So we think it might be the medical drama, it might be the climate drama, it might be this politics, that politics, it might be law, it might be cybercrime, then all of these different things, but they're all leading to the same place. And they started it with GMOs 20 years ago, and when everybody figured out what they were, they all turned them down. And it's all leading to the same place of synthetic life, that instead of having a natural life where we can be independent and free, we are going to be in their ideals, we're going to be completely dependent on them to provide everything from food, air, water, and they're probably going to hook us up to a computer 24 hours a day with an AI that tells us everything we want to hear.
Well, yeah, but we don't think they're going to succeed.
Well, I'm making it my personal mission to make sure they bloody well don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm risking, me and our teams are risking our sanity and our personal security to do this. Right? And the reason why I got involved is if we're not doing it, who the hell will? If I think we're some of the only ones who actually not just see the problem, but are willing to throw ourselves in front of it.
Yeah, everyone can do something on
Yeah.
one's own level. It's just that, as you say, you have an elite core with special skills to address that niche that was not needed more people in it.
Well, look, why don't I'll put it this way. If you want to control a planet, then you need a technological edge on the locals, right?
Yeah.
And that technological edge has been black magic. And our team represents a force of white magic directly against it. And white magic is stronger than black magic every time, which is
Yeah.
why we've been so incredibly successful. What do I want to say here? Once we take down, the centuries of infrastructure of manipulation of humans, once we take it all down, once we kill all their personnel as we're doing, then that tiny elite of parasites do not have any further advantage over us. They don't have any leverage. The technological advantage that they had when they came to this planet, we take it back off them. And in doing so, we also create a renaissance in human culture.
Yes. So would you like to start with the questions, Alabar? That's a
Yeah,
good
go for it, mate. Go for it. I think we did a decent overview of who we are and what we do. Let's see.
Okay,
Let's
good.
get down to the nitty gritty of it. Because
All right.
when you sent me those questions, that's exactly what I want to talk about.
Great. So the first question, Albar, it's commonly held there are three main power centers of the cabal on the planet: Vatican, City of London, and Washington, D.C. Some say the Vatican is a little higher on the totem pole than the other two. Would you agree? Have you ever checked out the Vatican, taken out anybody there? What's the story with the Vatican? Would you consider a mission there, or what, have you done any missions there?
Well, actually, like 5 or 10 years ago, it was like the first mission I ever did was against the Vatican, and I've done them on and off for years. There's this interesting thing where spirituality and law are incredibly tightly bound together. And so those three locations, the Vatican, the London Square Mile, and Washington, D.C., are legal islands on the earth. Like, they are legally distinct jurisdictions for the earth. And the Vatican holds the spiritual, the London Square Mile holds the financial, and the Washington, D.C. holds the cultural reins of the planet. That's where these three things, where religion or spiritual, financial and cultural dominance is set. So the cultural agendas are set from Washington. The financial agendas, the financial direction of Earth is set from London, and the Vatican sets the spiritual course for all of humanity. So it claims.
So who's the military? Where do you put the military? Who's mainly in the military? Who controls the military?
Well, okay, so you have this group, the cabal, right? Or, and you have the 13 families and their hangers on, and together I call them the Abraxas, right? So they're the circle of, what do you call it? Management sellouts to an alien species. These are the guys who have believed the promise that they'll be special on the earth if they just give everybody else to the aliens, right? And that Abraxas group comes along in 3 departments. And within these departments, they're married to each other. It's intermingled, like everybody knows everybody. And they are military, media, and financial. And so you see the Trump versus Clinton. You've got Trump, who's got the military, and you've got the Clinton-Obama group, who have media and financial, or Hollywood and finance. And they think that since it's the end of days, only one faction can survive, so they have to go to war with each other. It's kind of ridiculous, but they've been working together. As much as these evil, backstabbing, cheating bastards can work together, they've been working together for a very, very, very long time.
Do you see the Vatican as a little bit above the other two centers, a little bit more in control?
Well, look, there's a legal claim. There's 3 legal claims that the Vatican made in the 11th century. And they wrote these, and the way law works, if you declare something and nobody contests it, then it's true. So, and the declarations were that the Vatican controls all of the souls, body, and land on Earth. And so, since they own all the souls, they've decided to turn them into financial instruments through the birth certificate. If you're into alternate law, there's a whole rabbit hole. There's a massive body of knowledge there that we won't go into.
Right.
No, actually, I might say that your birth certificate number is the serial number of you as a slave, and they are traded on the Chicago Stock Exchange, I believe, amongst others. It's really not my area of expertise, but I've looked at it. I've done some research there.
Who is behind the Vatican? what beings?
That is the million-dollar question. Like the missions, and I would say I've easily had 10 missions against the Vatican. Everybody hates the Vatican. Just remember that all of the churches, right? All of them, all of those different offshoots of the church, every single one of them are against the Vatican. It's everybody else versus the Vatican, right? And because everybody hates them. And what we find is we'll make a strike, we'll blow up a whole bunch of things, we'll kill a bunch of personnel, and then an hour later, it'll be like nothing ever happened. Like they're using an illusion magic. I'm not bad at spotting illusions, but their illusion magic is so good. Or they have a time distortion that reinstates everything to before we blew it up. Or the tech that they're using there is a step above. It's like we have not been able to destroy it yet. Though I think the diplomatic post for all of the alien species is centered in the Vatican. They're the ones who have a sort of a Men in Black role to hand out visas to different aliens or not, but I think the kind of galactic scum who show up to spiritually underdeveloped planet like this to exploit it, I think the Vatican's been dealing with that kind of thing for a long time, and and we should be glad that they're not walking on the surface with us. That like there's no insects who just walk down the street and eat humans at will.
I wanted to say something biographically that I feel a little proud of. Is that I have an ancestor
Mm-hmm.
who wrote the first book against the conspiracy in the United States.
Wow.
Samuel Morse, the inventor of the Morse code
Really?
and the telegraph. He wrote the first book, and it's mainly about the Vatican. The very first book against conspiracy that's usually talked about was written by a guy named John Robison in England, which is a pretty well-known book. And the second one that I could find was by Samuel F.B. Morse. He lived in New York City. And
Wow.
before he wrote this book before he invented those things. I'm related to him by marriage, mostly. He's like my fourth cousin, fifth removed or something like that.
Still, I think it's a good pedigree to be part of, mate. Like, I know.
Well, it made me thrilled, to feel like that. And I
Yeah.
have a copy of it, I'd like your audience to know about Scribed, or called Scribd, SCRIBD.com. It's a website where anyone can upload anything that's not, vulgar. And it's a gigantic library. And you can get it, you can pay, very little
I have
amount.
heard of this. I have heard of this before as well. Yeah, wow.
It's the biggest library that I personally know of
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy docs, but you can find every kind of doc. Somebody downloaded for me 3,000 conspiracy docs. Quick.
I'm really glad that you're not saying conspiracy theory, because I just don't think it's a theory anymore. I just think if you take away the word theory, it just makes so much more sense. Thank you.
So, yeah, I only have one more question about the Vatican with regard to who's in charge and their tech and stuff. What occurred to me is maybe like who can Alabar ask questions to? Like who can Alabar learn from? And we're going to get to a couple possibilities, but one is this new stealth group, the ET stealth group, and the other are, the Buddhists and other people that are around the world that, might know some things that if there's more trading. But we have questions about that later on.
Yeah, good. No, I have things to say about the Buddhists in particular.
Okay. So you did a show on the city of London. Can you give a brief update? You were keeping track of that situation?
Yeah, look, the city of London, there was the square mile had, every ceremony that they do in a location, it's like a sheet of paper, and it's just another layer that's stepped on top. And this is, you know, and like we're seeing like a waist-high sheaf of paper for all of the ceremonies over and over again that are done in that location. And that is and those ceremonies allow for a metaphysical tree to grow, which roots itself in the core of the earth, and the branches reach out to all the financial centers in the world, you know. And
And did
so,
you cut those grappling hooks? Did they come back?
well, look, and this is you really hit the nail on the head. Like, I'll go into some astral projection theory here, right? So I'm going to talk about dimensional settings, or each dimension, each emotional location. You know, if you go to a rock concert, you expect the mood to be like this. If you go to a church, you expect the mood to be like that. If you go to a funeral, you expect the mood to be like that, or a wedding, or you know what to expect in the places you go. And people have certain bars that they prefer, certain restaurants prefer, because the dimension in there has a certain set of rules or conditions that
Frequency,
sets the
frequency,
field.
frequency,
Huh?
frequency,
Yeah,
frequency.
frequency. There you go. It has a certain frequency that matches yours or that you enjoy visiting. Now, the big fight is what sort of frequency, what sort of conditions, what sort of dimensional state is Gaia going to be in? And we actually found like a grappling iron, which is a weird thing, which is designed to pull Earth into a dimension that, well, isn't very pleasant. And it had claws on it. This is a metaphysical object the size of the Earth. It had claws on it that dug into the Earth, and there were three, I see them as little rings that were slapped on the Earth. And these three places are the Vatican, the London Square Mile, and Washington, D.C. Right, so they're very relevant, and I can say without much equivocation that those three locations are here to impress the alien agenda upon the Earth and drag it into a frequency state, into a dimensional place that doesn't, it's not conducive to human culture. Let's put it that way. It's not
They're
here to help you.
the bad aliens, the bad
Bad
aliens.
alien, yeah. Look, the aliens who think Earthlings are a delicacy.
Yeah. Now you said you cut those 3 grappling
Well,
hooks and you wanted to see if they came back.
well, yeah, and half of the prongs have reasserted themselves. Not all of them, but half of them, and some of those are there. But it's another offshoot that our mission group's got to work on again. So there's a lot to do.
Okay. Number 3, how about Washington, D.C.? What's going on in D.C.? I haven't heard you say anything about D.C.
We
So
haven't had a
far.
mission there.
You haven't mentioned that.
Well, look, I can talk about it in context of this, but we haven't led a mission there. And I think as we do work on this enormous grappling iron, I think we're going, and there is a devourer of worlds in our galaxy. It's arrived in our galaxy and it wants to consume everything.
The AI.
Yes, it can't. Well, in our reality, it is the AI. It has punched a hole in space-time, and what it comes out like on this side is an AI.
But I thought that hole in space-time, I thought you closed that hole.
Well, we did close it around the Earth. And I will say we got petitions from 200 other planets to do the same there. But what that tells us is that our galaxy, they've punched holes in lots of places.
So that was just one tear.
Sorry, one tear. Like it's like a little pinprick around the galaxy, but they do it next to planets they want to take over.
I see.
Yep. And what else? I got to say this well. And so what happened is that instead of them being able to directly exchange with Earth, they're transiting. They're using a nearby portal, a nearby rip in space-time, to transit from there to a second location and then to here. So we've extended their supply lines, and they have to spend a lot more resources just to interact with people.
Like a leapfrog.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, it's not a victory, but it's making our enemy's job harder and more expensive.
So what do you have to say about, if you look at Washington, D.C. now, what do you see above it or controlling it or anything like that?
Giant octopus with hundreds of limbs.
Doesn't that sound juicy to you?
You don't know how many things we've got on our agenda. Like you said, we're the only ones in this field. We're the only ones doing this work. And yes, that's a juicy target, but it's on a list.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, let me go to the next topic. It's commonly said that Antarctica is the main base of the cabal on Earth, both on the surface and inside, underground and inside the hole a little bit, and that many Earth leaders go there for meetings routinely. For example, Secretary of State John Kerry went there the day before a national presidential election, which was bizarre. Although it was, they do this on purpose to show you what they're doing, do you agree that Antarctica is a major cabal base? If so, what's the relationship with these other three cabal centers? What do you see there?
Okay. So my understanding of Antarctica and is that just prior to the end of the war, the Nazis did a deal with an alien species, the Greys, I believe, and they got technology from them. But their war machine was finished by the time they were able to implement any of it. And so so the Nazi elite escaped through Spain out into the Atlantic Ocean. And a lot of them showed up in northern Argentina, but also some of them went to Antarctica and set up a base in Antarctica. And you have these events in the late 40s of a guy called Admiral Byrd, who first led a brigade down there and got repelled, and then he came back with a division and also got repelled. But if you read his reports, there's a whole nother land there, there's a whole nother continent. And I think this is where the flat earthers get their ideas from about the ice wall. Whereas I'm pretty sure it's an underground base, it's an underground location. And I think that the Nazis claimed it and have been running space and using their new grey tech and their new friends. And the reptilians have been spotted with them as well, is that they've been running space exploration for a while. Now, what happened with this is, why this isn't common knowledge, I'm not sure. But what happened is after the second attack by Admiral Byrd was repelled, there was a flyover of the White House. There's like 15 flying saucers hovered above the White House, which is the Nazis saying, we can destroy you anytime we want. There's nothing you can do about it. So back off. And no further missions were sent to Antarctica. Now, if you believe the, what do you call them? Whistleblowers? The secret space program survivors, or whatever you call them. The guys who were taken as captives and slaves and worked in space operations for the Nazis. Like what a wild concept. But the Nazis are capturing people and selling them from a hollowed out asteroid in our belt, in our solar system, in the asteroid belt. And we've astral projected, we've seen all of this. Those slave bases are real. Those trading posts are real. It's bizarre. But the first thing that once we reclaim planet Earth, one of the first things we're going to have to deal with is space Nazis. Now, as for John, right, and like you're saying, science fiction couldn't do better than this. It's really happening, you know. It gets even better because I can only assume there's some sort of diplomatic connection between them and the White House. I mean, of course there would be. Of course they're talking, and I have no idea what they would talk about. That being said, no, the chief base for the cabal is not Antarctica, or
It's
it
not.
might be, or there might be some sort. And so, to go even further, the Nazis were the first ones to make that treaty with the reptilian greys. Since then, there are several other secret space programs, and Richard Dolan is the best researcher I've seen on this. He calls it breakaway civilization. And there are secret space programs run by the US have one, the Russians have one, the Germans, the ex-Germans used to have one, and there's one by the International Corporate Conglomerate, or sorry, that's what it's called, ICC or ISS, whatever it is. Those guys, corporations, engineering like Boeing and Raytheon, engineering companies like Boeing and Raytheon have built fleets and are in the process of exploring the galaxy. Now, the reason why it's called breakaway civilization is because we're not told about it. We're just paying for it. Now, I want you to see that planet Earth has been in 75 years or 80 years of uninterrupted peace and prosperity and technological advancement constantly. And where is that wealth? Where did it go? Everybody's in debt. Every country, like, where did all of those goods go? And the best answer is that we're paying for a space program that we don't get to enjoy. And why? Why aren't we told about it? Because it would be a great victory. It would be a great celebration for humanity. And the reason is that our allies are monsters, and they show that our leaders are monsters too.
Now, Catherine Austin Fitts has spoken extensively.
Love that girl. Love that girl.
She's the one, she teams up with that man. What's his name? He has a doctorate from Oxford in North Dakota. Can't think of his name right now.
Mr. Famous. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, he's pretty well known. The Death Star of Giza, he wrote, that's the name of his website.
Wow.
They get together a lot, and she says, I know where the money's comes from, and he knows where it's going. You know, she blew the whistle.
Yeah, that would be a good explanation for those two. Yeah.
Now, where I'm getting some of the information for my questions, Alabar, is supposedly from the first extraterrestrial who has her own YouTube channel without any human involvement, she claims. Her name is supposedly Mari Swaru, and her channel is Swaru Official, SWARUU. And she has a companion channel. It's not her channel, but a companion channel called Cosmic Agency, in which the ETs, fellow ETs on her same ship, 300 miles up, do live chat with a Polish lady living in Barcelona and her colleague, Robert. Now, according to all these people, Antarctica is not the head of the cabal. It's the head of the Galactic Federation on Earth, along with a ship behind the moon. And the cabal people are the lowest people on the totem pole. And they go there. And she said she can personally, if this is a real person, she says she can watch them from her window and sees about 25 to 50 ships going there every day, and some ground traffic control. And she says there's bases for almost every many of the dozens of nations on Earth and many ETs, ranging from the worst to the best, and everywhere in between, and all controlled by the Galactic Federation. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I'm just telling you, this is what
it fits with what I know. Like there's nothing in what you're telling me that I react badly to. Like it's without checking, it could be true.
Okay. Now, are there any, let's go on to the next question. Are there any, thank you. This has been one of my big questions for you, and I appreciate your answering it. Are there any other major power centers that are worth mentioning on Earth, along with these three main ones, such as New York City, Israel, China, Ukraine, etc.?
Oh, okay.
For the cabal.
Well, so that Holy Land in Israel.
What? The reason I'm asking is because we can put our attention on these centers and say, you know, I do not consent. When we become aware of them as truthers and spiritual truthers, we can have an effect on them. When you expose them, it helps them lose their power. So if we know this information in our own little way, like your viewers, it's not just information. It's not just, oh, isn't that nice? It's something that we, you know, knowledge is power for us.
Yeah. Well, look, there's Israel. Geez, you can't even say that word. I'm going to have to edit that out because of censorship.
Okay.
The country that's having trouble with the country that's what do you want to say? Bombing its own citizens or its own non-citizens in the Middle East, that country. There's no nice way to talk about that place, but that place has a major ley line vortex, and there's 13 of them in the world. But I think that a lot, it's by connecting with it, you have a lot of spiritual knowledge and a lot of spiritual detail that's been downloaded from that object. And it's been the starting point well, it's what Moses was looking for when he was wandering through the deserts. He went to that place, and Jesus was born around there, and he had access to it.
What do you see when
to great effect?
Okay, what do you see when you look at New York City?
It's very similar to London in that it has gone over to the dark side. Like it's not significant, like it's significant as a financial center and probably more so than the London Mile these days, but it's not special in any way. It's just a concentration of forces. It's just a focal point for that, which is why there's so much madness in New York City. Same with London.
How about China?
Well, a while ago, I had a list of the 33 people pushing the Great Reset the hardest. And we went through them all one by one. And the leader of China was one of the few that our teams would just not tackle. They were just too powerful. I actually have like I have like a little bit of research on Chinese magical history, which is the history of magic in China, why they chose Beijing, and then what they did with it when they rebuilt the city from scratch. I think it was in the 11th or 12th century.
Yeah.
But you know, my knowledge of China is limited. I'll just put it that way. So I won't comment on it because I'm not certain of that material.
Do you plan on doing much there? Have you done much there?
No, we haven't done much there at all. But you know,
Do you plan on doing anything there?
like I said, our list of things to do, we let Gaia dictate like what's important and what's not. Like there are things that we think are important, which
Yeah.
are in the news, which are famous locations. But actually, we let Mother Gaia set the agenda because it's her ascension that we're aiding. You know,
Do
and
you give her do you give her information, like ask her questions like what about here and there and here and there, and sometimes she'll say yes and sometimes not, and she'll
no, we'll just go. You know, like I will knock on her door. You know, oh, sorry. I went to the big event in Mexico in 2012, and I was dancing in the biggest temple in Mexico, a place called Palenque, with the Pope of the Mayan calendar crew on that special day. And after we finished that ceremony, Gaia gave me a job title and a position to be her strongman, to be her military agent or whatever you. I think it was Knight, like I've had a bunch of different job titles, but Knight of Gaia on that day. And I've been doing work for her ever since. So when I pick up the phone, I go, hey, Gaia, baby, how you doing? What's important? She will show me a location. She'll show me a situation, and then our team will fly out there and resolve it. And by she knows better than us what's going on in her world. So when she sets the agenda, it's very, very easy and clear what we need to do
okay.
and what will be most effective.
Okay. The last question on this section is Ukraine. What do you see in Ukraine?
Um, Ukraine is a research concentrated place. There are a few extra features. One is that there's reportedly a buried starship in the south, or a buried mothership, and our astral travel teams can confirm that's true. And in the Busegi Mountains, which I think are on the southern border, is a um, is an underground base for people who are 20 or 30 feet tall.
Okay. Now this brings
Yeah.
up a question which is not on our list of so-called arcs, buried arcs.
Yeah, well, we
What do you have
spotted
to say about
one.
that?
I don't know. We spotted one, but I don't have. I can confirm one exists. I don't know. Yeah, but keep in mind, like uncountable alien species have shown up here for for 10,000 years. You know, like the human genome is supposed to have been around for 200,000 years. Like, you know, we have Egyptian history where there are 30-foot tall people, like Akhenaten or Akhenaten it was a pharaoh who was 30 feet bloody tall. Like, you know, and this is written in the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Like they've been here. You know, the story of the Nephilim or the Anunnaki from Zechariah Sitchin, like it's pretty clear. But and so when you say, are there arcs? There could be anything,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
Like
right.
keep your mind open. Like it's just, and I do like the idea that the space Nazi base in at the South Pole has been opened for the use by multiple other secret space programs as an airport, as a spaceport. You know, I like that idea.
Um, what about this thing of we're kind of going around the world. Now, what
Yeah.
about off planet? What's the situation off planet?
There are, well, look, I will say we've made contact with lots of different fleets, you know, and we have a thing where if we don't like the species, then we um, alter the fuel that they use. We alter the fuel that's going into the motors of their ships, and it's like putting sugar in a gas tank. And
Now that I haven't heard. I
No,
haven't
no,
heard.
like because we that's how we handle it. Like it's not the only way to handle it, but that's what we do. You know, we stealth into their, you know, alter one key component, and then like the fleet is dead stick after that. They're in real trouble.
Okay, now this gets into a can of worms because
Doesn't it?
we're talking about astral ships because from the astral, can you put 3D sugar into a 3D ship? You know, this was where my mind starts to have like can't understand when we think of
Well,
spaceships. We don't usually.
I've got a theory, right? And I don't know, and it's probably early to talk about it, right? But this 3D that we're in, people call it a simulation. I more call it a game. You know, like there are those online computer games where you can play with 100,000 other people and kill the dragon or blow up the spaceship or whatever it is you do on those games, right? I don't really know. But I think Earth is one of those games, and we're kind of stuck here for some reason. But what it means is that the astral is the real, and this is the
Simulation.
created. Now, because us humans think this is real and that's fake, so we can alter anything we want upstairs because it's not real. It's just from our imagination, you know, like it's just our minds create these ideas, and bam, it's real. But it's feasible. It's so much easier because we think that world is not real, where it's actually the real, and this is the fake. And I think it was Plato or Socrates. You know that weird story where he talks about the sunlight, the shadow, the actual reality, and the shadows in the cave.
Yeah, the
You
cave
remember that?
analogy. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like it's a weird little thing, and I remember it from my university study. Going, what the hell is this guy talking about? But what I think he's trying to say is that the astral planes dictate what happens here in the 3D. And so that's why we have the second Hermetic law, which is as above, so below.
So if you
When you set reality upstairs, it becomes reality down here.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
if you put sugar in their gas tank, how come they can't just take it right back out?
Because for them, that's the real. Their imagination doesn't play with that. Just like my imagination doesn't put food in my fridge and gold in my pocket, you know, because that's a hard thing to do. Because we think this is permanent, this is immutable. What the world that we're in, where it's actually the opposite is true between the two. And so
So
when they live in their reality, they consider their reality to be immutable. But
so you're
because of the condition we're in, we're able to mutate it.
so you could call this dimensional trumping. You dimensionally trump them.
You got it. You got it. That's my theory, and it works for medical intuition. That's for sure. Like you know, that's the evidence that I bring to the party.
Okay, how is Gaia? How is she doing?
Every time she's just going from strength to strength. She recently came out of a hibernation period where what did we do that time? I really don't remember. We disconnected her from a parasite network and system, and
Yeah, I
then
remember that video.
mate. There's so many things going on. I don't remember the details of all the missions we're on. You know.
But lately, is she happy?
Oh, she's delighted. She was dancing the other day, like we repaired her womb. See, religion. This will come out in the video in the next week or two. Is religion actually stole her womb and supplanted it with an artificial connection, with a robotic sort of thing, and very unsatisfactory, to say the least. But we replaced that and punished all of the baddies involved. And she's delighted. She's dancing, and she's like a woman who's just had a womb replaced. She's out there looking for a man. She's out there wanting to connect in that visceral way. Like, like it was a weird meditation, that one. I'm like, yeah, but
How's
she's
your
having the best time, but she's also very, very young as a planet. Like, her mentality, she's incredibly strong. She doesn't know it. But think of like a 5 or a 6-year-old child who, just stumbles into trouble and doesn't understand what she's doing. And that's how she's made all these connections with all of these different alien species. But her innocence shines through, her joy shines through. But it's her naivety that's got us all into this trouble. And, how do you lead the development of a planet? Like, some of the things she's learning through us.
does she have parents that she can ask or talk to?
Not that I'm aware of, but of like very, very, very early in the piece, we did create, like, this is my first team, which was a bit lackluster, but we did do some good things, is it reconnected Gaia with all of her friend planets, because those connections had been broken over the
That's
centuries.
important.
Yeah.
That's important.
I was like, yeah, so she can phone a friend.
Is your crystal lattice around the Earth, that's still in place? Okay.
That's still intact and it's doing its job perfectly. Yeah, sorry for the viewers. We built another auric layer, a crystalline structure about 85 kilometers above the surface of the planet, which works as a protective shell. And it also allows her to, what's the word? Grow within that egg, or she's got an uninterrupted or an unmanipulated playground in that 85 kilometers, where she's just got, it's like she's just sort of, oh, give me a bit of space. And that's what we did for her, is create that. And it also has a few gateways. It has some gateways about who she lets in and who she doesn't, which is new for her. She's like an apple without a skin. Everybody could come and take a bite.
I see. Do you or someone on your team do a daily survey of the whole planet to check for bad operations? If not, is it a good idea?
It's actually a really good idea. And our teams are strong enough that, we could actually do that. It's actually feasible for us to do that.
Like, I was thinking maybe you could divide up and take turns and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are currently on your team?
That I can't say. I don't want to give intel on our teams, and I know that we are being watched.
Okay. You asked me to say that this way. How has anyone been hurt on your teams?
Yeah, look, madness is a risk. And that if the demons get you and drag you into their dimension or into their reality or their world, it can really distort how you see the world. And in one case, we had one of our team leaders, I suppose you'd call him, get called in by a deity called Pistis Sophia, and he's been stark raving loony ever since. It happened about 18 months ago. The thing about it is, like, one of the reasons we work in teams is that it makes it feasible to help people who get injured. Like, if he had have accepted our help, then he wouldn't be in this state of madness.
You mean he turned it down?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you ever invite, well, we wish him well.
Yeah,
I would
look,
like to say that.
utmost respect to him because he's a fallen soldier.
Yeah.
He's a wounded soldier, and you know, whereas in the 3D world he might have lost an arm or a leg, you know, in this way he's lost his mind. He's lost touch with reality.
Do you ever invite other astral groups to join you in missions, like in the projects you did in Nepal and also in CERN? There was a whole lot of other teams. Do you ever invite them to participate or anything
Well,
like
look, we have a European team, an Australian team, and an American team because of time zone restrictions. Just so that everybody has like a sensible flight times.
I mean, other teams that aren't associated with you. Like, do you
Yeah,
ever?
well, look, I'll talk about the Finnish team. I got introduced to a Finnish team in Finland, and God bless you, but he was a hairy little hobbit of a guy. He was cute, but I invited him to come and fly one of our missions. He performed well. He enjoyed it. It was all good. I said, "Oh, can I come fly one of your missions?" He says, "No." I go, "What's the problem?" He goes, "They only speak Finnish." And I go, "That's nonsense. Like you're, Scandinavians especially speak excellent English because the BBC is broadcast in those regions." And you know, and he was just protecting his clientele because people pay to fly missions with him. All my groups are volunteer.
Oh, they pay. I see. But
Yeah,
aren't
well,
aren't there?
and look, and I'll put it this way: there is no education like it. The stuff we're coming into contact with and the things we're learning, there are no textbooks for what's going on, for what we find. You know, I mean, who's writing? Yeah, how do you deal with space Nazis? Like, who's writing textbooks on that?
You've mentioned, Alabar, that the Buddhists have the largest group and the most sophisticated. Are you in touch
Well,
with them on a regular
okay,
basis?
so let's get a couple of things straight. The Buddhists are astral projectors. Like, well, they are very, very good at it. They're very competent, and they've got, you know, 1,000. I'm just as a conservative estimate, they've got 1,000 competent astral projectors. Right?
Wow.
We've bumped into them at CERN on an occasion, and years ago when the events of Fukushima were taking place, I took a group of friends over to try and talk to the uranium and the plutonium to not go pop. And, you know, but we bumped into a Buddhist team there, right? So they are doing flights. They do special projects, right? But they could have done what we're doing years ago. Years ago, they could have, you know, they have the people, they have the personnel to defeat all of demon kind. And they could probably do it in a month if they chose to.
Why don't they?
That's the $1,000,000 question. What's your bloody problem? But, you know, I've bumped into them. Sorry, I actually spent some time in Nepal, and I was a fledgling wizard in those days, but I was talking with a very senior guy, and he went to the Buddhist. He goes, "Oh, look, you know, whatever projects you're involved, let me throw my weight in. I want to help you guys." And they turned him down. When I went and astrally connected with the guy, with the team leader for Fukushima, and he turned us down. I've heard of other people, you know, being turned down by them as well because they're snobs. They don't want to work with anybody else.
Could Gaia be sort of a hub?
Look, I do want to recruit further, but I don't know what to do.
Oh, because she put you in charge of the military, so that means it's sort of your job to
I
communicate.
don't think I'm in charge of the military. I just get given jobs.
Uh-huh.
Right? And because my astral combat skills are very, very good, it means that our teams can go and do things that other groups cannot. right? Because, like, let's say you want to fix a ley line. If there's demons there and you can't fight them, then that ley line stays broken. But because I can fight them, then the rest of the team can go in there and fix it. Like that's and so it's a key component of what we do.
So you're kind of generally working on communicating with, I mean, I got the impression that there's lots of teams all over the world, small, and you're kind of gradually communicating with some when you feel like it.
Well, look, we got introduced to a group called the Silver Lead. Yeah. Well, when we encounter them, it's great. I was introduced to a group called the Silver. Actually, Tanath, for the leader of this Silver Legion, reached out to me, and
Silver Legion.
yeah. But they were a big deal 10 or 15 years ago, but now they're kind of defunct. They're not really. When I said fly missions, let's go do something, they didn't know what I was talking about. They didn't understand the concept of going out and changing something out there.
Oh,
Going
they're
out and
more like
fixing.
tourists. They're more like tourists.
Well, look, they're competent astral projectors, but their focus is on self-healing, and there's this weird thing where they're all gender confused as well. So I think Pistis Sophia got them at some point.
How's she doing? I was going to ask you, is she
Pistis
continuing to,
Sophia is as strong as ever.
I thought you said she got transformed to the
She's come
positive.
back. She's and what we're learning about demons is from our work with the god of alcohol. See, look, we've had two big attacks on the god of alcohol. One is we got the #1 demon for alcohol, the head of
Right,
the hierarchy there.
right,
He died. Who got him
right.
killed? And he was immediately replaced by one of his lieutenants.
Yeah.
The second mission, we had a full flight team. Everybody was there, and we destroyed not just Al Ghul, the #1 guy, but his entire hierarchy. And the way that it works is that every alcoholic has one of the minions of Al Ghul in them, and there are 260 million of them. We got 30 million of them. So there were cases of people who just put down the bottle and walked away. But from the 230 million remaining minions, they were over a course of months, they were able to firstly gather enough energy and then bicker and fight their way into a hierarchy. So the biggest and toughest one made it back to the top, and that hierarchy has reinstated itself. And I think that's what happened with Pistis Sophia too. Like it's
So you were saying, while we're on this topic, that there were 14 major bad guys up there and that you had taken out 4. Is that still the case?
yeah, and they were replaced by we got the inner circle of leaders. Like there was an inner circle, and we managed to capture and destroy 4. We took a bite out of them, but we're still feel like how to fight them and how to destroy them. We're still feeling our way through that, because conventional combat techniques like cutting them in half or stabbing them in the head don't work on the astral planes. Like you need to develop fresh techniques for every task that you want to do. And so and everything I know about exorcism and demons, like I discovered through contact time. Like just put on the boxing glove, you get in the astral plane, put on the boxing gloves and let's go. And everything I know about them, I learned the hard way. And we're getting to a point now where we're very, very close to learning how to remove an entire demonic influence from humanity. And so the first achievement, like one of the first things I really want to do is defeat the god of alcohol and all of his minions and remove alcoholism as a feature of human culture. Like alcoholism as a phenomenon could end, is what I'm hoping will happen.
Do you ever meet with your team and talk about techniques?
Oh
And
yeah, well, yeah, look, Some of my teams I train, they go through my training course. And so my graduate students fly missions with us.
Okay. How often
Yeah,
do you do missions?
a few times a week. Like,
2 times.
well, look, the Australian, the American, and the Europeans each have a set group time, and we often do other times. I think January, February, we'll be flying 5 missions a week
Why more?
because we got more people.
Uh-huh. Oh, because of your trainings.
Yeah, well, some of them, yeah, but you know, volunteers pop up all the time.
How many people usually go with you on a mission? 2 to 5?
Yeah, look, the way it works is that we meet, we have a yarn, talk about our lives, talk about things that are relevant in the magical world, and then we shut off the cameras and go on a flight. If there's more than 6 people, it gets a bit. There's too much chatter, there's too much noise, and everybody, and if the team's not cohesive, it starts pulling in different directions.
Now, when you say, go on a mission, most people or many people will think that you're in bed, lying down at night and going out. And then there's other times where you're talking about you're sitting in chairs, and
Yeah.
it could be any time. Uh, are those both 2 types of activities? And if so, how much of each do you do?
Well, I had a friend of mine joke and said, "Oh, Al, you're killing demons before breakfast." And I go, yeah, well, I had to stop and think and I go, yeah, every day this week actually. Like I like flying around and putting an end to them all. It's But that's just me and my solo work. I know our senior flyers all have areas of research that they're working on.
Keeping security in mind, do you have any kind of estimate for the number of astral warriors active around and near the Earth, both on your team and off?
Well, interestingly, at the start of the Great Health Crisis, which was what pushed me into doing this work, right? There were 6,000 active white wizards and 2,100 active dark wizards. And as I had to keep reminding everybody, you know, they work harder than we do. We're better than them, but they work harder because they're getting paid. It's their day job to cast spells on humanity. And they've got instructions that they must follow. They've got procedures that are laid out for them. Their education is very clear and direct, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but that being said, the balance of power was definitely in our favor. Now, since then, I don't think we have the same impetus. I don't think we have the same inspiration. And those numbers of white wizards are much smaller, but much more dedicated.
Now, we have heard, this goes back to this Taigetan Pleiadian group, okay? They have said, this wasn't Mari now, this was on Gosha's channel. They said that they ran into official uniformed military, white and dark, who are having armies, literally astral armies that were doing, battles together. And it was very large scale they were talking about. That's the impression I got. Are you aware of these forces, and who are they?
No, I'm not up to date with them, but
because you said that you said the real, this really had a big impact on me. But the real wars are astral wars.
yeah.
And that the physical wars are kind of echoes, sort of. And they have a life of their own, but the ones in the astral are more powerful. So that would imply that the cabal and the ETs and all that, they're going to want to develop astral warfare. And so it seems likely that they would be
Well,
doing that big
well,
time.
we bumped into the Monroe Institute, which is where the three-letter organizations recruit their remote viewers.
Uh-huh.
And they bumped into our team, and they were certain that we were Chinese agents. Right? But
You
when
know,
I said we're peasants, we're hippies. They go,
I remember,
oh, hippies, who cares? Like, do what you want. Because like I said, I'm unique in this field. Like, I'm the only one who does military work.
so you faked them out. The feeling I kind of get is on the Astral, like there's a lot of, it's pretty hard to find out who's who and who's doing what and what's going on. And
Man,
it's
man,
also, it's not always clear.
I did a video called The Eight Most Powerful Alien Species, the eight most powerful species on Earth. And
Yeah.
so eight most powerful factions, I think, whatever it was. And human light workers came in at number 8. So we've got a lot to catch up with. We've got a lot.
Now, most of the other questions we've had almost till the end, we've already covered, but we haven't covered the central sun. And you've said that when Gaia doesn't have anything for you to do, you ask the central sun. You talk
No,
about the
we asked the
central sun.
local sun, actually.
Oh, the local sun.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've
But
talked about the astral sun a lot. I mean,
mhm.
sorry, the central sun, that when you mention him a lot, that you send bad guys there to him to get incinerated and to get captured. And
Yeah.
who is the central sun? Is it the galactic sun?
So the central sun is probably what we would understand to be the big G. It's probably the
Uh-huh.
best. It's the mega consciousness of our galaxy.
But just of this galaxy?
Well, it's connected into a network of other galaxies. We went on a exploration of the structure of galaxies and the structure, yeah. And like galaxies are clustered in groups of 24 to 28. And those clusters we call, what do we call them?
Superclusters.
Yeah, megaverses, and no, we call it a multiverse. And then um, those are clustered in groups of 6, and we call that a megaverse. And it kept going up and up and up, but it's very academic. Uh, as if Central Sun will answer all the questions you've got. But the rest, if you go further up the food chain, it's a bit like brain candy. We don't know how to use any of the information we find there.
But
Uh,
you work with the central sun a lot because you mention all the time you send stuff to
well, okay. And I want the whole world, I want the entire spiritual community to hear me out on this point, all right? Demons, reptilians, all of the bad guys at any time could have returned to central sun and changed to the light side. They only do it when we corner them, when we force the point. It's death or conversion, and that's when they go to central sun. You cannot heal a reptilian. You cannot heal a demon. They must be killed. And when they do that, deathbed repentance thing, we go, oh, sorry, maybe I want to be a good guy. It's just a manipulation of you. I
no.
cannot make that clear enough. And I've spent so much time in this field. I don't think anybody knows what I'm talking about.
So Alabar, on previous videos, my impression is that you said that was true for demons, all
Yep.
demons.
Yep.
But you said reptilians, that means ETs, are different, and that about a third of them can be converted and educated, and that's been working because you found some other way to do it that takes
Well,
longer.
and I'll go back to that because we captured 650 of them. Like
Right.
the reptilians were absolutely stunned, so stunned that anybody attacked them that they surrendered because it has never happened before. Right? And we captured 600. No, seriously, everybody's scared of the reptilian. No, no, humans are stronger than they are. That's why they need us. We don't need them. They're disconnected from the big G. They're connected to the great nothing or the AI or whatever you want to call it. And it's just sucking energy out of them all the time. And because they're in an energy deficit, they need us to pay their debts. Right? That's
So and as we lose our fear, they lose their food.
That's right. Their income just starts to disappear. Yes. Right. So
So
every time you heal a fear, there's a reptilian that goes hungry. Okay, go for it.
that's a good ad. That's a good
Title it.
advertisement.
I think it's a meme I had the year before last. You know.
So Alba,
There was a point. So the 650 we captured, we tried to convert them. With the help of Gaia, we set up a special conversion room, a special chamber in order to rehabilitate them and re-educate them. None of them survived the experience.
and then
Like
you
we
said
thought we were forcing goodness into them too quickly, so we warped time and elongated their re-education over 1,000 years, and they still all imploded. Like
the last time,
survived it.
the last video you made on that, you said this is new to me, because you said you started this elongation process and you thought it was going to work. So now you're saying it didn't work.
It failed. Yeah, sorry. Like I'm not sure if I'm sharing everything on video. Like, and when I make my videos, I like to be respectful of people's time. I don't want to ramble for an hour like so many people do. I try and keep them down to 10 or 15 minutes and
No,
just
I
tell
think,
you as much material as I can, you know?
yeah, I think what happened is that when you made that video, you just hadn't found out yet. You had just
That's
started
about
the
right. I
elongation.
didn't know it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So this is the last question we have, Alabar, for this interview. It's often said that the cabal reports to the ETs and the ETs report to the demons. What's the relationship between the cabals and the ETs and the demons? My impression that the demons are on top and the ETs report to them. Is that true or not? Or is it more
Okay.
complex?
Well, and
I mean,
I
the
did
bad
wonder
ETs.
about that relationship for a long time, right?
I mean,
Because
the bad ETs, okay? The bad ETs.
yeah, sure. Um, and I'm going to talk about building deities.
The what?
Building deities.
Uh-huh.
So the Egyptians, they built all their deities, and the reason why they've got a jaguar head or a hawk's head or whatever, what have you, is because they took the blueprint of that animal and altered it and turned it into a deity. So just like North American totem animals, they could gain all the personality and qualities and wisdom that those animals have, and then make it more accessible to themselves by adding human components.
Yeah, that's global.
Yeah, that's doable, right? And they did it.
Global.
Huh?
It's global with the native people globally have done that.
Yeah, totally. I think all of the Viking deities were all built, so along with the Celtic ones, and I'm pretty sure that there's 300,000 there's reportedly 300,000 deities on the subcontinent of India, and you know, and I think like every village built its own deity to look after the village. Where am I going next with this?
You were talking
So
about the ET.
here's what I think. Okay, so talking to demon lords, right? Like alcohol was not always evil. Alcohol was a phenomenon that occurred when you let food ferment, and then alcohol was a product. And back in the ancient cultures, alcohol was their mushrooms, their jungle juice, their psychedelic. Because I think at some point Al Ghul was a nice guy, but what I'm getting is that all of these guys were seduced by Lucifer. Now, what I think happened, I'm only about 80% sure of this. Right, there's probably more detail to it. What I think happened is that the reptilians built Satan and Lucifer to go out and co-opt and go out and claim all of these other deities, all of these other functions of the world around us. And he's done so. Like lust was seduced and claimed by Lucifer, and so now lust is something is now used to get you into relationships that you shouldn't be in, instead of it just being part of the normal human attraction. Greed is a perversion of security. Greed, the concept of greed, the deity of greed, was seduced and claimed and enslaved by Lucifer, and on the list goes, right? And so what I think happened is the reptilians built the deities of Satan and Lucifer, and then set them loose into the world of deities, through which they seduced, claimed, and enslaved hundreds of them, and then used that to collect the loosh, and use that as the loosh collection methodology.
So
that's
when we read
theory at this point.
When we read the scriptures, it's very common that these words, such as greed and lust, they're capitalized. And I never really realized that when they were originally written, they were talking about beings.
I've interviewed all of them. The 7 deadly sins, I just interviewed them. I'm releasing those interviews before New Year's. You'll see them on you'll see them as podcasts coming through.
So, Alibar, maybe it'd be good to end the interview by just saying, how do you feel your progress is for yourself and your team in your astral warfare at this point, at the end of the year 2023? What's your overall take on your progress in terms of where you would like to be, where you thought you might be? What's your overall progress?
Well, I'll tell you what that minor alien faction we ran into said.
Yeah.
Okay, and this faction is a group of refugees from the Orion Wars who stole a ship, and they come to Earth to reclaim some of their friends' captured souls.
Yeah.
They said they already knew exactly who I was. Apparently, I'm a known being on the astral planes, and that the only thing that all of the exploiters of humanity never counted on is that we would turn around and fight them, that we would stick up for ourselves. So that all of the manipulation, all the misinformation, all of the distraction and nonsense stories, and all of the minutiae of daily life, this idea to consume at the time of our minds. They never expected, they never planned for anyone like me to get the question right and then roll up their sleeves and pick a fight with our exploiters. And because of that, they have no defense for what we're doing. Our teams are seasoned and strong enough that whatever project we set our mind to, it gets completed. We are still feeling out what the astral world around Earth is like. We have not, there's so many discoveries to make. We don't even know who all the players in the game are. But every time Gaia informs us of something, we close out that issue for her, and we're going to keep doing it. Satan and I'll put it this way, Satan talks to me because he thinks I'm going to take out his rival, Lucifer. Lucifer won't enter a conversation with me because he knows that at some point I'm going to kill him. And there's
Well, you
no
already
doubt.
did once. You already killed him once, and you said it's a matter of
yeah,
time.
no, we found. Well, look, it was actually my friend who killed him.
Yeah.
And she asked me to look for him because I couldn't find him and I couldn't find his corpse anywhere. And as it turns out, on another mission, he was hiding in a parallel reality. So I think it was Pistis Sophia showed us where he was hiding in a parallel reality, and him and a few others. And we went in there and picked a fight, and now he's back on Earth causing trouble again. But he vanished for a while. He is the one most responsible for the corruption on Earth. He's the brains trust. He's the architect of the whole thing. Satan is much more of a bulldog and an enforcer. He's not a plotter, and he's not a planner in the way that Lucky Luke is.
So you said that Lucifer is going to be weaker each time since he was already killed. Do you still feel that way? You said after you kill them once, they're weaker, and then you just keep at it.
Well, I say we're learning as we go along. Like, we're going to keep fighting, Well, look, since with the teams that we have, we don't lose any battle. And so we get to choose what we do, what parts of what things we want to change. And, now the difficult thing is to get the question right. What is the things that we do that will make the most impact? What is it that, where are the linchpins? How do we move forward best? What is the best strategy to take? Because there's nothing that they can do about us. They've got nothing.
So here's another question that just came to my mind that I think I had written down, and that is, what percentage of your missions are chosen by Gaia, and what's the percentage where you come up with them yourself, approximately?
Probably about 20% ourselves, probably about 20% the sun, or 15 or 20% the sun, and the rest is Gaia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Alabar, we finished all the questions that we planned to do for this video. And
keep going, mate. Keep going. I'm sure you got something else you want to ask. Oh, well, I did. In your questions, there was something about Swaru.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the people involved, the Swaru, like I found a picture online of all these beautiful, beautiful Pleiadian people, which is they're like, it's like a model. It's like a modeling catalog that and they're the ones who are the team behind Swaru, which is like a larger contingent of Pleiadians were here. Most of them left, but they stayed to help out humanity. And they're doing so by feeding us intel. And the people are real. The ship that they talked about, I couldn't find it. Probably because they have good stealth, but not necessarily the case. So but I think that the people are real and they're earnest, that they feel genuine. And so I did watch their video the other day, and I go, like, since we're willing to throw our faith into anything that asks for it, we manifested the aliens that match that, which is, which are the Pleiadian channels, who we are, naive enough to believe anything they say, even though their past statements have been proven to be lies multiple times.
Well, they never talk about being Pleiadians at all. They don't use the word. This particular group does not identify with the Pleiades. They occasionally will mention, yeah, we're from the Pleiades, but they identify as, there's two groups there, the Taigetans. It's a Taigetan ship. It's not a Pleiadian ship.
Yeah.
And the Taygeta is the one of the seven stars of the Pleiades in the upper right.
Huh.
And it's a star that has four planets, and they have a lot of videos on Taygeta. They talk a lot about Taygeta, but they don't talk about the Pleiades. They're very independent. And they imply, I think for political reasons, they don't come out and say it. They don't really agree with a lot of the Pleiadian
Foreign
policy.
policy, we'll call it. Yeah.
No, I get the impression that the Pleiades, I mean, you said that their high council is corrupt in your interview with Alyssa. And I get the impression that she said 55% of the Pleiades is corrupted and just wants to follow their leaders, and 45% doesn't. Well, the Taygeta is definitely on the
In that
side of that
45%.
45%. Now, the Swarunians, they were originally Taygetans. A Taygetan, they all come from a single woman who started cloning herself. And she cloned herself so often and got so transformed that they can no longer have children with the Taygetans. So they have become their own entirely female race. That's their
Oh,
story. That's their story.
didn't they go to that place on Star Trek? Didn't William Shatner insist that they go to that planet, like the planet of only women? Like that sounds like a William Shatner kind of story. But
Well, they made
everything in the universe is feasible. Everything's out there.
well,
Sorry, I'm being cheeky. I don't mean to be.
they say that Taygeta is 75% women, and people joke about it. But they say, well, it's true, but the men are not, it's not, they claim it's not a matriarchal society. They claim that it's a balanced society, and most of the women are older women that, are on their own and they don't need or want men. I don't know how they explain it.
Oh no,
But
keep
it's
telling
the
me the story. No,
Swarunians.
keep telling me the story that everybody gets 3 or 4 wives. Like I like that story better.
Well, yeah, they passionately deny this, and they get up in arms about it. But it's the Swarunian girls. They're teenagers, okay? There's an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old and one that's a little older. Those are the only ones that are connecting with the YouTube. The Taygetans who are associated with them, with one exception, are just support staff. And
Yeah.
there's one Taygetan man that's new named Zael, Z-A''E-L, who got inspired by the Swaru girls, and he made his own YouTube channel now. So that means
Wow.
there's three channels. Cosmic Agency, which was the first, that's run by that Spanish woman named Gosha in Barcelona. And she does live chat with two Swarus, the 11-year-old and then one that's older. And then the middle-aged one, who is Mari, she has her own channel, Swaru Official. And now Zael has his channel with his partner called Zael. And probably this most strange thing about this is that all three Swarus, they claim it's the same person on 3 different timelines. Okay. And it's a lot to swallow,
Look, I feel the same about my material, like I talk some big mumbo jumbo, but for the world that I'm living in, like it's my day-to-day thing, it's my day-to-day reality. It's just what's happening around me. And I think, and for them, in this spiritually underdeveloped world, like those are basic biological technologies that people are just not up to date with. We just don't know anything about them. And it's entirely feasible from my understanding of metaphysics, I'll say.
Yeah. One thing I've learned in the past couple months from watching their videos They're not any better than we are. We can look them right in the eye. You know, they're 800,000 years or whatever ahead of us technically in terms of spaceships and stuff and free energy, but not spiritually and not emotionally. And they think they are. And I get irritated with them or frustrated because they're giving me this, uh, they're often coming across that they know best about everything. And we
Well,
just,
look, and what you're getting is the missionary feature. Like
yeah.
these guys are, yeah, they're like missionaries for the Pleiadians, you know?
Well, for the Taigetans, for the
Yeah.
Taiget, and
God
I
bless them.
just
You know, their heart's in the right place.
what I have to do is it is I have to filter. I watch a lot of videos that just piss me off, and I don't agree with what they're saying, and especially their attitude. And
Yeah.
then I'll watch some video that's just so incredibly interesting with information that I can tell like this is probably true, and I just had no idea. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. And like we were talking at the beginning before we started taping about the replicated food. She has a whole
Mm.
video. Mari has a whole video on plastic food and replicated food, and it's very helpful. Who else has made a video on replicated food and don't eat it? You know, they do homework, but they could do a lot better homework on Earth. They think we've got great homework, and they've got a lot, but they, have a lot
Yeah,
of
no,
glaring.
it's the mission. They're the missionaries, you know, like you know, and so for and you'll notice they haven't gone native yet, if that's the right phrase to put.
Now, another thing that they say that's very interesting is that there is no clear dividing line between an Earth human and an ET, and they get into great detail about star seeds and step downs, and when you get
Well,
all the
one
different
you'll love
varieties.
this one. You'll love this one. One of our meditations said, how many are pure blood earthlings? What percentage of people walking around the planet are pure blood earthlings? And I think it was 31 or 32%. Born here, souls come from here, grew up here, unadulterated, 100% local, right?
Are you?
No, no, my soul's come from a different place. But
Where?
you'll laugh when I tell you. Um, I, my soul is actually a Pleiadian soul.
No wonder you're so much against the Pleiades. That
I know.
explains
I had
everything.
I had to do a deep hypnotic regression to find out what was going on. What is my actual relationship with the Pleiades, right? And oh man, and I got put in jail there, and my buddies helped me escape the planet, and I've been bouncing around the galaxy ever
No
since.
wonder you have it out for the Pleiadians. This explains
Totally,
everything.
totally, yeah, like great injustice. But I'll do a video on that. I'll do a video on that soon enough.
Yeah,
If
really.
people request it, I'll do the video.
I request it right now.
Yeah,
I am
okay.
a Pleiadian.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be a laugh. Um, but yeah. So it's funny whenever I go in, whenever I'm meeting the Pleiadians upstairs, like they all know exactly who I am, and they're just stunned. Like they look at me, the jaws of the blue go, yeah, yeah, yeah. I go, hello, help, hello, talk to me, and they're just not awake. You know, they can't fathom that I'm the guy who's. And I didn't know what it meant for the longest time until very recently.
Well, Alabar, I'm actually out of time right now.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, look, I think we've extended our listeners' attention capacities for as long as makes sense. But look, I really enjoyed this. I love being able to talk freely, and I know you've got the right questions. You know, like, sorry, a good interviewer knows how to get the best out of their interviewee, and your research, your decades of research has really got the best out of me. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Alabar. On behalf of, I don't know if I have a right to say on behalf of your viewers, we want to thank you for all you put out, as well as for a spiritual healer, being a spiritual healer, and you're doing it like 24/7. You're either healing or flying or eating,
Yeah, yeah. I eat, sleep, fly. That's it. You know.
So thank you very much.
Oh, total pleasure. Total pleasure. Look, and something tells me we're going to do this again in a few months, and just as an update of what's going on in the world.
Well, we still have a lot more questions that we didn't get to.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, we'll do it again sooner than that then. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, if you're watching this video and you have more questions, just put them in the comments, and they'll
Absolutely.
come through. They'll come through this context. This context. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Until we meet again, may the force
Thank
be
you.
with you. Bye for now.
Goodbye.